Hello and welcome to Defense Dynamics. I am Danveer Singh coming to you from New Delhi. This week, we examine 4 developments that together reveal the direction of India's military transformation. First, the Indian Army is preparing to induct the VBAT unmanned aircraft system, a platform that combines artificial intelligence, long endurance, surveillance, and autonomous operations. It's a glimpse into the future battlefield where information may prove as decisive as the firepower itself. Second, we look at India's next generation ballistic missile shield. With successful interceptor trials of AD-1 and the upcoming AD-2 program, India is moving towards a more sophisticated air and missile defense architecture capable of countering emerging threats both from Pakistan and China. Third, we analyze the mysterious midnight launch of an Agni missile test that has attracted attention from Islamabad to Beijing. Why do such launches matter, and what message do they send to India's adversaries? And finally, in my take, we examine the significance of Lieutenant General Dheeraj Seth becoming India's next Army Chief. Why does his journey as an officer of Armored Corps to commanding Strike Corps and followed by commanding 2 commands, that is Southern Command and the Southwestern Command, matter in the post-Operation Sindoor era? But before we dive in, here are the major global defense headlines.
India's defense production reached an all-time high of Rs 1.78 lakh crore in the financial year of 2025-26, marking a significant milestone in the country's journey towards self-reliance in defense manufacturing under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. According to the Ministry of Defense, defense production registered 15.6% increase over the previous fiscal year's output of 1.54 lakh crore rupees. The Defense Research and Development Organization successfully conducted the flight test of the indigenously developed Long-Range Land Attack Cruise Missile, or the LRLACM, from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island in Odisha. The LRLACM is an indigenously developed missile with all subsystems developed by various DRDO laboratories and Indian industry partners. The Indian Army has selected the MEPRO X6 telescopic sight developed by MEPROLite, a subsidiary of Israel's SK Group, as a dedicated daytime optics of its in-service Negev light machine gun. MEPROLite said that MEPRO X6 sight will be delivered to the Indian Army through state-owned Bharat Electronics Limited. The Ecuadorian Ministry of Defense announced the acquisition of 7 Leonardo AW139M multi-purpose helicopters for $209.8 million. The acquisition aims to strengthen the mobility, transport, and operational support capabilities of the Ecuadorian Armed Forces. According to the established schedule, the helicopters will be delivered in 3 phases between December 2027 and May 2028. Rheinmetall unveiled the Containerized Missile Launcher, or the CML multi-launcher for FV-014 Loitering Munition 2026 Defense Exhibition held in Paris on June 15th to 19th. The CML is a fully autonomous, modular, and networked weapon system designed for development on various platforms and rapid operational readiness.
The Indian Army is set to receive one of the world's most advanced tactical unmanned aircraft systems. Through a strategic partnership between JSW Defense and Shield AI of the United States, the VBAT drone will soon be manufactured in India, bringing cutting-edge ISR capabilities and advanced autonomy to the battlefield. But what exactly is VBAT? And why are militaries around the world showing so much of interest in this?
When most people think of military drones, they imagine either a small quadcopter hovering over a battlefield or a large aircraft like a Predator flying from a distant airbase. The VBAT is neither. VBAT is a next-generation tactical unmanned aircraft system developed by the American defense technology company Shield AI. It occupies a unique space in the drone ecosystem, combining the mobility of a helicopter with the endurance and efficiency of a fixed-wing aircraft. At first glance, the VBAT looks like any conventional drone. Instead of multiple rotors or long wings mounted horizontally, it features a distinctive duct fan design. The aircraft stands vertically during takeoff and landing, almost like a rocket preparing for launch. Once airborne, it transitions smoothly into forward flight, turning itself into an efficient surveillance platform capable of covering large distances. This design solves one of the biggest challenges faced by modern militaries: operating drones in difficult terrain. Traditional fixed-wing UAVs often require runways, catapults, launch rails, or recovery systems. In mountainous regions, dense forests, island territories, or frontline combat zones, such infrastructure may not exist. VBAT eliminates this problem. It can launch and recover from a small patch of open ground, a rooftop, a forest clearing, a mountain outpost, or even the deck of a naval vessel. For a country like India, with operational environments ranging from the Himalayas to the deserts of Rajasthan and the islands of the Indian Ocean, this flexibility is particularly valuable. But VBAT is much more than a flying platform. Its primary role is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, commonly known as ISR. Equipped with advanced electro-optical and infrared sensors, the aircraft can detect, track, and monitor targets both during day and night operations. It can provide commanders with real-time battlefield awareness, helping them understand what is happening beyond the next ridge, across the border, or deep inside hostile territory. The drone is designed to remain airborne for extended periods, allowing military units to maintain continuous surveillance over an area of interest. Instead of relying on occasional snapshots of the battlefield, commanders can build a persistent intelligence picture and track changes as they occur. In many ways, VBAT represents a new generation of tactical military aviation. It is not simply a drone carrying a camera, it is a deployable intelligence system designed to provide battlefield awareness wherever troops operate, regardless of terrain, infrastructure, or weather conditions. And that is precisely why India is interested in bringing this platform into service and eventually manufacturing it domestically through the JSW Defense and Shield AI partnership. The most tactical drones force commanders into a trade-off. Quadcopter can take off vertically but have limited endurance and range. Fixed-wing drones can stay airborne longer but require launch equipment and dedicated recovery zones. VBAT bridges that gap. VBAT is powered by Shield AI's HighwayMind software, enabling it to operate even in GPS-denied and communications-degraded environments. In future battlefields, where adversaries aggressively jam satellites and radio links, this ability could prove decisive. Another major advantage is logistics. The drone's compact footprint means soldiers can deploy it from remote forward locations without large support infrastructure. That makes it particularly suitable for high-altitude regions, deserts, island territories, and rapidly moving formations. For the Indian Army, VBAT is likely to become a battlefield reconnaissance asset sitting between small quadcopters and large strategic UAVs. Along the line of actual control with China, VBAT could provide persistent surveillance over valleys, ridgelines, and troop movement corridors without requiring prepared launch sites. Along the line of control, it could monitor infiltration routes, terrorist launch pads, and artillery activity in difficult terrain. In desert sectors, it can support mechanized formations by scouting ahead of advancing armor and provide real-time intelligence to commanders. Its ability to launch from confined areas also make it useful for special forces, forward observation posts, and mobile artillery units. Perhaps most importantly, the Indian Army's acquisition includes access to Shield AI's autonomy software, indicating that India is not just buying a drone but also gaining exposure to the next generation AI-enabled battlefield systems.
The VBAT is not designed for the airfields. It is designed for the front line where intelligence is scarce, terrain is unforgiving, and every minute of situational awareness can make the difference between success and failure. India's ballistic missile defense program has quietly progressed for nearly 2 decades. But recent interceptor trials of AD-1 and AD-2 signal that India is entering a new phase, one that is aimed not primarily at defending cities but at countering some of the most advanced missile threats in the region. So what exactly are AD-1 and AD-2 and why they are so very important?
Every modern military faces a simple but terrifying reality. A ballistic missile can travel hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, reach speeds several times faster than sound, and deliver conventional or nuclear warheads within minutes. The challenge is not launching missiles. The challenge is stopping them. That is where ballistic missile defense or BMD comes in. The concept is straightforward in theory but extraordinarily difficult in practice. A hostile missile is detected by long-range radars. Computers calculate its trajectory. An interceptor missile is launched. The interceptor then collides with the incoming missile at extremely high speeds, destroying it before it reaches its target. In military terms, this is often described as hitting a bullet with another bullet. India's original BMD architecture was designed around 2 layers. The first layer would engage incoming missiles outside the atmosphere. Second layer would engage any surviving missiles within the atmosphere. AD-1 and AD-2 represent the next generation of this shield. AD-1 is designed to intercept medium-range ballistic missiles, air-breathing threats, and maneuvering targets. AD-2 is being developed as a much more capable interceptor intended to engage long-range ballistic missiles traveling at far higher velocities. Together, they are expected to form the backbone of India's future extended-range missile defense network.
For decades, India has relied primarily on deterrence, the threat of retaliation to prevent missile attacks. But the strategic environment around India is changing rapidly. The need for a missile shield is no longer theoretical.
India is the only major power facing 2 nuclear-armed adversaries simultaneously. Pakistan possesses a large inventory of short and medium-range ballistic missiles. China possesses one of the world's most sophisticated missile forces, including medium-range, intermediate-range, and increasingly hypersonic systems. Together, they represent a challenge unlike that faced by most countries. India cannot focus on one missile threat. It must prepare for multiple missile threats emerging from multiple directions. Modern warfare depends on critical infrastructure: air bases, command centers, strategic communication hubs, ammunition depots, naval facilities, and space assets. These facilities become priority targets during a conflict. Without missile defense, even a limited missile strike could disrupt military operations during the opening hours of a war. AD-1 and AD-2 are designed to protect those critical nodes and ensure military operations continue despite missile attacks. The challenge is hypersonic weapons. China has invested heavily in maneuvering hypersonic systems capable of evading traditional air defense networks. Future conflicts may involve missiles traveling at extreme speeds while changing direction during flight. That is precisely the environment India is preparing for. The AD-1 and AD-2 program is therefore not simply about current threats. It's about ensuring India remains relevant in an era of increasingly sophisticated missile warfare.
The significance of AD-1 and AD-2 extends beyond technology. Missile defense changes military calculations, it changes planning, and it changes the deterrence itself.
Pakistan's deterrence model relies heavily on ballistic and tactical missile forces. The assumption is simple: the ability to threaten rapid missile strikes raises the cost of any conflict. A credible missile defense network complicates that calculation. Even if a portion of incoming missiles can be intercepted, Pakistan's confidence in achieving its objective through missile coercion begins to decline. The cost of attack rises, the certainty of success falls. China's missile inventory is vastly larger and more sophisticated. India cannot realistically intercept every missile China could launch. That is not the objective. The objective is to deny China confidence. Military planners must now assume that some missiles may fail to reach their targets. Some strikes may be degraded, some strategic assets may survive. Even partial interception changes the attacker's calculation. The ultimate purpose of missile defense is not vulnerability. No missile defense shield is perfect. Its purpose is survivability. If critical command centers, air bases, strategic forces, and communication networks survive an initial attack, India retains the ability to respond. That strengthens deterrence, and deterrence remains the foundation of strategic stability. In a sense, AD-1 and AD-2 are not designed to win wars. They are designed to ensure that no adversary believes it can win quickly through missile strikes alone.
While the missiles change warfare, missile defense changes deterrence. The real value of missile defense is not stopping every missile. It is convincing the adversary that missile attacks may no longer guarantee success. A missile shield is not built for peace, it is built for first minutes of war. In the early hours of the morning, long before most Indians woke up, a missile rose into the darkness above the Bay of Bengal. There was no major announcement, no elaborate press briefing, just a brief confirmation that India had successfully carried out a test of its Agni series ballistic missile. Yet within hours, defense analysts from Islamabad to Beijing were trying to decipher what exactly India had demonstrated. Why did this launch attract so much of attention, and what message was India sending across?
India conducts missile tests regularly. Agni missiles, Prithvi missiles, BrahMos launches, anti-ship weapons, and air defense interceptors are all part of routine military development. But some tests attract greater attention than others. This particular launch stood out because of its timing, secrecy, and the larger strategic environment in which it occurred. The launch came at a time when regional tensions remain elevated, military modernization is accelerating across Asia, and strategic competition between major powers is intensifying. In such an environment, every missile launch becomes more than a technical exercise. It becomes a strategic signal. The Agni series forms the backbone of India's strategic missile force. Over the decades, the family has evolved from relatively short-range systems into highly capable long-range strategic weapons. The Agni program gives India the ability to hold targets at varying distances at risk, providing foundation for credible nuclear deterrence. More importantly, the program demonstrates India's growing mastery over propulsion systems, guidance technologies, re-entry vehicles, and long-range precision strike capabilities. Every successful launch validates not only a missile, but a broader ecosystem that supports India's strategic forces. Whenever an Agni missile is tested, three audiences pay close attention. First is Pakistan, second is China, and the third is the wider international strategic community. Each launch provides clues about India's evolving capabilities, technological maturity, and operational readiness. Even when the launch is officially described as a routine user trial, analysts study flight paths, launch windows, trajectories, and payload configuration, searching for indication of what may come next.
For Pakistan and China, India's missile program is not an abstract technological achievement. It directly influences their security calculations and strategic planning.
Pakistan's strategic posture relies heavily on its missile inventory. Its deterrence framework assumes the ability to threaten military and strategic targets across India. Every improvement in India's missile force strengthens New Delhi's ability to impose costs in return. For Islamabad, an increasingly sophisticated Agni force means India possesses a more credible and survivable strategic deterrent that changes military calculations during crises and conflicts. The implications for China are even more significant. Beijing's military modernization has focused heavily on missile forces. The People's Liberation Army Rocket Force operates one of the largest missile arsenals in the world. India's long-range Agni systems are designed to ensure that key strategic targets remain within reach despite China's growing military power. The objective is not parity. The objective is credibility. A deterrent does not need to match an adversary missile for missile. It only needs to convince the adversary that aggression carries unacceptable consequences. Modern nuclear deterrence is built around survivability. Can strategic forces survive a first strike? Can they respond if attacked? Can decision makers maintain command and control under pressure? Every successful Agni missile test reinforces confidence in India's ability to answer those questions with a yes. And that is why launches matter far more than the missile itself.
The significance of the Agni program extends beyond regional rivalries. It reflects India's emergence as mature strategic power capable of sustaining a credible long-range deterrent in an increasingly uncertain world.
For decades, advanced missile technology remained tightly controlled by major powers. India faced sanctions, technology denials, and international restrictions. Yet, Agni program demonstrates how indigenous research and development gradually overcame those barriers. Today, India designs, develops, and produces strategic missile systems largely through domestic capabilities. That achievement represents far more than military power. It represents technological sovereignty. India's deterrence architecture rests on three pillars: land-based missiles, air-delivered nuclear systems, sea-based nuclear forces, and together they form the nuclear triad. The Agni family serves as the land-based pillar for this structure. As ranges increase, accuracy improves, the survivability grows, the credibility of the entire deterrence framework becomes stronger. The most important aspect of the midnight launch may not be what was revealed. It may be what remained undisclosed. Strategic deterrence often relies on uncertainty. Adversaries must constantly wonder how many missiles exist, how quickly can they be deployed, how survivable are they, what new technologies are being integrated. That uncertainty itself becomes a strategic advantage. And that is why a missile rising silently into the night can send shockwaves far beyond the launch site.
Missiles are not merely weapons. They are the messages written across the sky. The strongest deterrent is not the missile that you launch. It is the missile your adversary knows will survive. The true power of strategic weapon lies not in their use, but in the certainty they create, and that uncertainty they impose on others. Operation Sindoor appears to have changed something very fundamental in India's military thinking. For decades, the Indian Army's primary focus was on counterinsurgency, counter-terrorism, and managing the line of actual control with China. But Operation Sindoor has demonstrated that Pakistan has once again returned to the center of India's operational planning. And that is why appointment of Lieutenant General Dheeraj Seth matters. Not because he is an armored corps officer, not because he is the vice chief, but because his entire career has been shaped by the Pakistan front itself. Lieutenant General Seth is an Armored Corps officer from the 2nd Lancers. He has commanded 21 Corps, India's premier strike corps, designed for offensive operations against Pakistan. He later commanded South-Western Command and Southern Command, the army formations responsible for Rajasthan and part of the Western Theatre facing Pakistan. He subsequently led Southern Command and then became Vice Chief of the Army Staff before being selected as the next Army Chief. That career path is significant because Strike Corps commanders think differently. Their job is not merely to defend territory, their job is to seize the initiative, penetrate enemy defenses, exploit breakthroughs, and impose costs on the adversaries. In many ways, Operation Sindoor has reflected exactly that mindset. India did not wait to absorb pressure, India imposed pressure. India dictated escalation. India shaped the battle shape. And it requires commanders who understand offensive maneuvers. The second reason Lieutenant General Seth's appointment matters is the geography. South-Western Command is arguably the most important Pakistan-focused command in the Indian Army. It oversees the desert sector, which India's armored formations, mechanized forces, and strike elements are expected to play a decisive role in any future combat. Commanding that theatre provides a unique understanding of Pakistan's military doctrine, deployment patterns, and vulnerabilities. But perhaps the biggest takeaway is that India's next army chief is not emerging from a pure counter-insurgency background. He is emerging from the world of armor, mechanized warfare, strike formations, and large-scale conventional operations. That tells us something about how New Delhi sees the future. The army is probably preparing not only for border management, but for rapid technology-enabled high-tempo warfare against an unpredictable adversary. And after Pahalgam terror strike, followed by Operation Sindoor, Pakistan is increasingly being viewed from this prism. The appointment of Lieutenant General Seth is not just a leadership change, it's a strategic signal. In the post-Sindoor era, India appears to be placing a strike corps soldier at the helm of an army that has secured the northern borders and is thinking seriously about the Western Front. Different stories, different technologies, different leaders, but all pointing in same direction. An India that is seeking greater self-reliance, stronger deterrence, and enhanced readiness for a rapidly changing security environment. So that's all we have for this edition of Defense Dynamics. See you next week with new developments and their analysis. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and take care.